This is the second episode in a two-part series. Please listen to part 1 before continuing with this episode. This series contains discussion of violence and sexual violence against children, crime scenes, and sexual assault. Listener discretion is advised. This is The Fall Line. When we last left off, you'd heard Georgia Moses' story the way her sister Angel felt it should have been told all along. Next, we move into what is being done now to find justice for Georgia, to solve her case. The push for justice begins with Angel herself. Her background as a journalist in the U.S. Army gave her a variety of skills that aid this work. She also has training in social media and other digital communications. So she's been able to employ effective hashtags, images, videos, and all sorts of multimedia in support of hashtag justice for Georgia Lee Moses. But to get where Angel is now, in February of 2021, we need to start a little earlier. Before Angel launched and organized an effort to publicize and resolve Georgia's case. Georgia's unsolved murder never left Angel. That goes without saying. But it was within the past few years that a few events coalesced and brought her to where she is now, an organized advocate for her sister and her sister's case. It also brought her to others who wanted to help, like her friend Maria. In our January 2021 interview, Angel told Brooke about a strange experience she had, one of the things that set everything in motion.
So a part of what really made me start seeking, I was going through this, growth process. And there was this book from my childhood. It had pictures of me, a few pictures, and it had a few pictures of my sister. And those are like the only physical pictures that I've had of my life in California. And so it's always been near and dear to me. Well, during this time, I could not find the book. Like, I didn't know if I threw it away, because sometimes I just move stuff around, but I couldn't find it. And at that very instant, because I was just trying to look at my sister, I couldn't find it. And so I literally was having a nervous breakdown. Like, I felt myself going crazier and crazier by the second. And so I'm like going around the house, going in the garage, checking the trash can, like checking the same areas over and over and over and over and over. And the Lord stopped me and he was just like, give it to me. And like, I knew what he was saying, but I was just like so hurt in that instant. And he was like, give it to me. And so I said, like, calm down. And I said, you know what, Lord, I have faith that you will get justice for my sister. And like 2 weeks later, our printer needed ink. And so I went to go get the ink container and the book was in there. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I got in the ink container, but the printer actually did not need ink. It just needed to be realigned. Fast forward to, I think, October. I was just checking different posts because sometimes people share this post that we do. And somebody had shared our post, but they also had shared another post that had been posted like 6 years ago. And so I felt compelled to like scroll through all the comments because sometimes people might share information that's vital. So there was like hundreds of comments. So I'm scrolling through all the comments, and I see a familiar picture, which was my foster mom, who I went to live with. And so I'm like, hey, it's me. And so she's like, hi, how are you doing? I said, it's me, Angel. And she's like, I had an angel. Do you know where she is? And so I posted a few pictures from the book and I said, it's me. And so I'm like paralyzed because one, like I found my foster mom who I haven't seen in 23 years. And then two, I couldn't remember that she was the one that created the book. This one book from my childhood that had so many memories that I valued for all these years. And so I was like, I'm Angel. And then I posted some more photos. So she messaged me and she gave me her number, and she was able to attend the candlelight vigil. And it was just it was a big reunion, but it was like so much peace because the one book that I was about to lose my mind over came from a place of love at a time that I needed it.
It's amazing to me that she was able to provide some safety and consistency for you when everything was so fractured. And then, even though you got to move, with your family in Georgia and your mom was there, there was another sort of fracture that cut you off from her. Um, and it just sounds like this last year has been you putting back together, a lot of things that have been left broken. You're maybe hoping that this is the final piece that you can get put back together for Georgia.
Correct. So I have two older brothers. My second oldest brother, we were kind of always Facebook friends. But we didn't have like a close relationship. Like he would just kind of tag himself in my pictures, but we didn't really grow up together. My oldest brother, we haven't talked in almost 20 years, maybe 21, 22 years. We reconnected last year. And so it's really been a year of togetherness. And I feel like everything, as far as my sister and her case, is coming together at the right time because now we're all in this together. If it was 5 years ago, we would have all still been in our own places. But now we're able to grieve and heal and get justice as a family. And that is something that I'm appreciative for. Like even my mom, when I went to the candlelight vigil, she was just like, I want to go to the next one. And I was like, okay, because I don't think she's ever been to the grave either, because we moved. So it's just so much of our life that was like paused at that time. And now it's, we press play and everything is really coming together.
When we first began talking with you, we found out that you are working with some volunteers who wanted to help you with your sister's case. Can you tell us how you met them?
So I actually met a large group of my sister's friends that had started up a private Facebook group. It was called Justice for Georgia Lee Moses, and it was a Facebook group that I stumbled upon when I decided that I was going to bring my fight for justice to the public. Um, and it was really ironic how I stumbled upon it. But the night prior, I had decided that I was going to get in contact with the police department and really just do whatever was necessary to bring justice. The next morning, I woke up and there was a update to my email address, and there was an updated flyer of my sister for the reward of finding the person in the flyer, which was the last person to see her alive, and or presumed to see her alive. Um, and so that was kind of confirmation to go forward with contacting the police department. After I got in contact with them, I did a Facebook or a Google search just to see what all was online, and that's where I found the Facebook group. And so I immediately um, asked to join the group, and I was accepted. And the first post was that same flyer that I had in my email. And so I kind of just did this coming out post where I kind of gave my little journey for the year as to why I decided now to come public and not just kind of do it behind the scenes. And I did the post, and after I did the post and just going through the page, I saw all my sister's friends, or a large group of her friends, that had been making posts for years. They've made flyers, they've had walks, they've contacted the police department. They've done so much to try and get the justice that my sister deserves, but to no avail. They were pretty much stonewalled throughout the process. So when I came forward, they immediately welcomed me. We shared a lot of memories. They shared memories that they had with my sister, and from there, we just kind of took to the ground running. And some of them, helped me with creating posts. They helped with creating the petition on change.org. They helped with creating the different social media platforms. So they really took a lot of the burden of doing everything, and they took that on, and they did an excellent job in the process.
When you first saw that Facebook page, can you talk about any of the feelings that you had when you realized this group was out there?
Um, Initially, I was emotional because there hasn't been a lot of positive outlets that have done anything for my sister. So when I saw the group and I started scrolling through the posts and seeing all of the um, memories that were shared, all the kind things that were shared, basically, I saw them remember the same Georgia that I remembered. And that really confirmed that my sister was who I remembered her as. Because over the years, the few articles that were written on her didn't give any truth to the person that she was. And in reading those, I would just get upset and just stop looking up things until I had the urge to do it again, which I would come across the same stories. So to see the group and all of these friends that grew up with her that still remembered her as this beautiful person that was so positive, so uplifting, so motivating, so friendly. Um, it just solidified the fact that I was on the right path.
Once you got that validation and you saw that you guys could come together, you started Justice for Georgia Lee Moses. Can you tell us the goals of that project?
We're doing what the police are supposed to be doing. In coming together, it was really just us trying to get the justice that was necessary. And what made it, I guess, bigger was the fact that so many people cared so much that we just happened to come together to do the same thing, um, which was a beautiful thing because initially I really thought that I would be treading this by myself. I knew the goal that I had in mind, and I knew the time and energy that I was willing to invest. So to have so many people come together and care the same way that I cared, it really just it's it's an indescribable feeling of love, because the only narrative that's been pushed for the past 23 years is that nobody cared. And that's not the truth. So many people cared, but the right people didn't care. We can care all day, but if the police department don't care enough to process evidence, to do certain investigations, to follow up on certain leads, then at the end of the day, no justice will be found. We can't go knock on people's doors to say, hey, we need to talk to you. That's the police department's job. So there's so many people that have cared and continuously cared over the years. It's just the wrong people were in the fight. Not even the wrong people. I'm not going to say that. The right people didn't join in on the fight.
At this point, you have quite a few, like Instagram and a website and a Twitter. Are you the one who decided, let's go to these different social media platforms?
The first public thing out was the Facebook group, which is a private group. I was doing my own thing, like by myself. But when I saw the group and so many of her friends reached out and they were more than helpful and, lending whatever help that they could give. they were like, okay, let's start with the social media sites. And we all kind of came to it at the same time. It seems like I was the missing piece. And I kind of knew that before I came public, which was kind of why I didn't want to come public. I actually found an email that I sent to a crime group back in March asking for their help. And one of the things that I put in there was that I did not want to be publicized. And the reason being because every article that I did read mentioned the little sister. And so I just had a gut feeling that whenever, you know, traction would take place, that everybody would be looking for the little sister, which ironically, when I joined the group, everyone's like, oh my gosh, we've been looking for you. So many people remember me and have memories of me that I don't recall those same memories because a lot of my childhood was just revolving around me and my sister. So, um, but they felt like, we needed to start these different social media platforms. So, a few of them created the Facebook page, the Instagram page, and the Twitter. I decided to create the website myself because I felt like there weren't any accurate stories on my sister, and I wanted her to be recalled in the love and the light that she was. And so I was trying to figure out how I could have a story done on her where it wouldn't be picked apart, where, certain details wouldn't be added. And so I felt the only place to put that would be my own website, which is why I created the website where I could write whatever story I wanted to, share whatever memory, and it be factual. For me, I'm really not big into social media. I know the power of social media. I did social media work when I was in the military. I was public affairs. So in addition to writing, I actually ran our unit's Facebook page. So I know the power of social media, but because I'm a private person, I don't like being on social media. So it was kind of a growth process to put how I felt aside for the sake of sharing my sister's story. And I found that for me, Twitter was the biggest platform as far as reaching any and everybody. So what I would do was just start trolling people. If there was a story that was posted about something, I would throw my sister's information on there and, people would share it. I would troll the news entities um, and just basically try and put my sister's face any and everywhere. And then once I met Maria, she really was helpful with Instagram, and she actually has a background in marketing as well. So she was able to really navigate social media on Instagram where we were able to reach a certain audience and a larger audience and even get in contact with you guys. So I know, especially it's really, I don't want to say crazy, but it's more of a miracle how things are taking shape because 2020 was like the year of social media with the pandemic. So everybody kind of took to social media to just live their lives and to see how social media has played such a large role in bridging the gap between 1997 and today is really beautiful because without social media, I probably wouldn't have met the group of friends that I did meet. That was the catalyst to us meeting each other. So, I definitely believe social media is like a two-edged sword. And fortunately for me and my sister, it was able to really um, unite a lot of us.
Do you feel like Petaluma law enforcement is taking notice of that?
I do feel like with the surge in social media presence, the police department are taking notice because when I called them in May, they didn't get back to me. They were supposed to get back to me on certain details and information. And in August, I submitted the petition to them in addition to a slew of other entities to include the district attorney, the governor of California, and like 20 different people. Um, but it wasn't until September that I actually got a phone call from the current detective on the case to say that he was just assigned the case, but he had yet to look over it. Now, a few months later, he has still yet to look over all of the details. And just in our little own investigating, we've submitted more details that we felt would be useful to the case. So with the surge in social media, I feel like it's definitely put enough pressure on where somebody has gotten assigned to the case, but it hasn't put enough pressure to where they're actually taking a priority in her case.
Do you know if the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office has a devoted cold case unit?
They have a cold case school that Violent Crimes presents cases to, but there's not, as far as I know, and I could be completely wrong on this, as far as we know, there's not a dedicated cold case unit.
According to their website, cold cases are assigned to the Sonoma County Violent Crimes Investigation Unit, which, quote, investigates all felonies against persons. There's no mention of a dedicated cold case squad. Brooke also asked Angel about a Change.org petition that was begun last year. It had an original goal of 7,000 signatures, and it reached nearly 10,000 before it was closed. The petition's title is Justice for Georgia Lee Moses. The petition's author, Victoria, wrote, quote, we need your help to have her murder properly investigated, have new interviews conducted, and to push to have DNA testing done to locate a possible suspect. Her family deserves justice, and Georgia deserves justice. Please sign this petition and help a family get closure after so many years. Signatures came in quickly, with many people expressing love for Georgia. An update reported that the petition was being sent to the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office and also directed future visitors to the Justice for Georgia Lee Moses GoFundMe page.
One of her friends suggested that we do a petition where we basically let the county know that there's a large group of people that are looking for the same thing, which is them to properly investigate the case. The last time I checked which was last month, there was over 8,000 signatures. So I submitted the petition and I followed up with my own addition to the email, basically just saying that, it's been 23 years and just from my own knowledge of things that were publicized, details that, I felt like should have been followed up on, that they have not done a thorough job investigating. And that I'm here to ensure that that changes. And a few entities responded back. I know the assistant district attorney sent a letter back in response to that, and a few other departments. But basically, they just told me that the responsible investigative party was the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department, but I included the other entities to help put pressure on them, which I guess at the time it worked. But like I said, the detective here in 2020, as of 2 days ago, sent an email saying that he has yet to look over all the details of the original case files, and that with the current load of active cases, those take priority. So
we asked Angel how it felt to see that kind of warm response from the public, the petition, and the response to her social media posts.
They help take the burden off, because I've come to find that I'm not the only one that's fighting for justice for their loved one. And to know that we have to fight so hard just to get the proper care is mind-blowing. It's like if we were to go be vigilantes, we would now be the bad guy, but it's okay for me to have to do my own investigation and then you guys take the credit for it. It's been 23 years, and in the last 2 to 3 months, me and Maria have uncovered a plethora of details that the police department had no clue about. And so basically we're doing their job. and we both have our own lives. Not to say that this isn't a priority, but if you're paid to solve crimes, then do your job. It's not my job to do your job, and so to have you reach out and say, hey, yeah, we want to do this, it helps take the burden off of fighting this by ourselves. I've only personally done 2 events, but each time there's been more people that have, said oh, I'd never heard of this story. And a lot of people actually from the area that have never heard of the story. And, it's refreshing for me to hear that now that they've heard the story, that they care and they're willing to help in any way that they can. And really it's just putting the information out there. I'm really not stuck on more people joining the fight. I'm stuck on doing what needs to be done for my sister to get the justice that she deserves. And unfortunately, I've found that me caring, my family caring, her friends caring, that's not enough. It's going to take pretty much the world to care for justice to be served.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Angel and Maria know that being noticed isn't enough. They have to really involve their followers to create community. And to do that, they need visual assets that can be used on social media.
Can you tell us about the call that you put out for artists and sort of what you were looking for and what the response has been?
Yeah, so I'm going to let Maria answer that because she actually put that out.
What Angel explains that growing up, her family was not big picture takers. So we put a call out actually before the call for art. We put a call out for any friends or family that may have images of Georgia, because what we have found is only about 5 images of her. And that was from digging. And 2 of them we found online. They weren't even ones that we had hard copies of. So when we realized that there's only about 5 images that have not been lost to time, we wanted to see what artists, various different people, friends, family, strangers, whomever, what they would be able to present and help us with keeping Georgia's face around. There's so many people who take 1,000 photos even before we all had cell phones that had cameras in it. So you have, hundreds and hundreds of photos to choose from various different other cases, where with this one, there are so few. So inviting artists in both created an interest by the artist and the artist's network, but it also gave an opportunity for Georgia's beauty to really stand on its own and to be interpreted and to be shared again and again in ways that it hadn't already been, because there are so few pictures of her.
The solution that you thought of is so brilliant.
It was really brilliant when she brought it to my attention. She's like, well, let's, call for artists. And you never know what to expect in hindsight or going forward. But when you see it manifest, it's brilliant, So when we started getting all the people submitting artworks, like I was literally moved to tears, because now my sister is being represented properly. Like people that never knew my sister are taking the time to create beautiful representations of her. And like you said, it is a community. There was people that just created artwork that wasn't my sister, but they wanted to create something just to say, I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of your sister. And it's really been a beautiful process.
Yeah, I mean, there was the woman who made the pie.
Mm-hmm.
There was a woman who made
people are cooking.
She's a chef, and she just said, I have no artistic ability, but I can cook. and she made a beautiful pie for
Mhm.
Georgia. And then actually a good friend of mine made word art. She makes really beautiful print art,
Mhm.
and she did a piece that
Mhm.
also has no image on it, but it it really reaches out to these various communities that we ourselves are not a part of, but by extension, we are now a part of. You know, this
Mhm.
my friend who made the word art, she's in Idaho, and now all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people in Idaho know George's name and are interested in her story. And the girl who made the pie, I think she was in New York,
Mhm.
and so it's just it's far reaching when you ask people to help us with their creative minds, because people want to express themselves, and being able to express themselves in a way that benefits such a beautiful person and a really heartfelt cause. It like you said, it creates a community, and it creates a feeling of being a part of something in a way that is different than marching through the street, which is also commendable, but
Mhm.
or
It's really
sharing things on
humanizing.
Facebook.
It's humanizing the
Yeah.
fight,
Yeah.
because we all express things differently, and to accept people's help however they want to give the help. It's saying, we all matter in our own right.
Yeah.
And so, like, we had monetary donations, we've had, people donate masks, we had people
The cupcakes.
cupcakes, they've created flower arts, like so many different expressions of love, all for my sister.
Yeah.
And it really just solidifies that, love is love, and I kind of mentioned that yesterday at her remembrance celebration, that, here we are together in the midst of chaos, but we're love. Love trumps a lot of stuff. So when you give love, love exists. And to see all these strangers join me in loving my sister, it amplifies the cause. On Twitter, I've actually befriended a lot of people that are fighting for justice. A few of them pointed out a few different groups that could be helpful. And so back in, I think, like May or June, I got a TikTok, and they actually only got on TikTok to do silly videos. So I was doing it wrong because I didn't understand, like, things trend and you're supposed to kind of do what everybody else is doing. And I'm doing all these random videos. At the time, I would put up a few videos on my sister. A few of them gained a lot of attention. But after hearing about Alyssa Attorney, I was like, oh, okay, like I can really use this to really reach a lot of people. So I've kind of shifted my TikTok from just for my personal use to my sister, using it for her based off Alyssa Attorney. And then basically we kind of share each other's stuff. Um, and that's so we've kind of become our own little community of people, sub community, and just keep sharing. Sometimes somebody might share something, and then because they have a larger audience, or because somebody that they know is familiar with, like, an area that my story or the next person's story is, it helps to get that attention further. It's really a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And then also the sisters of Sean Monterosa and the brother of Stephen Clark. They're both Bay Area cases. Both were unfortunately lost at the hands of police, and they have been fighting for justice ever since. And they have been really helpful. They have a significant following. Both of them have significant followings, and they're doing a ton of really important, really great work. But they've also been really communicative. If I have like a specific question, or if we send them something and say, is there any way you could repost this for us? I understand it's not your brother's case, or it's not part of what you have going on, but is there any way you could just do this? And they have been helpful in that regard of just, it's few and far between, but it's just enough to guide,
keep that momentum going.
Yeah, exactly. To guide the
right,
river.
because sometimes we're human and we lose steam, And just having somebody else just kind of take the torch even for a second, it gives you that breath to like re-engage, you know. It's something that I never could have prepared for. And to think like a year ago, like I had no idea that a year later I would be here, having made so much progress, having befriended so many wonderful people, and to be in a better space. You know, like healing, actually acknowledging what actually took place. It just, to have people alongside of you is a beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah.
Show love, not fight, you know.
So for the people who have allowed us to use their communities, even for a second, just, hey, here's this one post, or I've tagged you in something, or like yourselves as well.
Someone, you know, from the visual showed up because they heard about Georgia.
It on you.
Right.
Yeah. And so even to borrow that space for a 24-hour period is so monumental. And it I don't think a lot of people realize how really beneficial to our progress and to Angel's progress specifically, being able to get the word out, that just that share or just that tag or just that like really matters, because that's an audience of people we didn't have before.
Right.
And it's so great that there's so many people willing to do that for us.
We have found that the people who hear these stories really want to do anything they can to help. What are the primary things they can do to help you guys? Where can they share? What do you want them to share?
Okay, so our major social media platforms are Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All of them are under the handle Justice for Georgia Lee Moses. And the petition is also under Justice for Georgia Lee Moses. And then we have a GoFundMe, which is also Justice for Georgia Lee Moses.
We try to stay consistent.
But if, at the very least, a share does so much. You know, a share goes around the world instantly. And so it takes our circle of audience from a small pea to a large watermelon, you know. And if you don't want to do that, pray. You know, I feel like change is coming, and just having somebody that cares genuinely means much more than anything else. You know, if you care in your heart and you hope for the best to come out, that means more than $1 or a like or a share. So,
yep. Yeah. Also, if anybody that is listening knows something, you can stay completely anonymous. You can make up a fake email address. You can do whatever it is to stay anonymous. Or if you really want to just get it off your chest and anonymity is not something that matters to you, you can email us at whathappenedtogeorgialee@gmail.com. That has been, that email address has actually been extremely helpful. People have sent both photos and tips. They have sent stories. And we're not just using it as a tip line, but it is really helpful as a tip line. But that's, you know, if you come across, if one of her friends is listening and they haven't found the Facebook or Instagram yet, and they happen to remember, oh, in this shoebox buried in the back of my mom's garage, I think there's a picture in there. We would love that.
When Angel began working on hashtags and social media, she also created a slogan for Georgia: Justice has no expiration date. In the years since George's murder, justice hasn't materialized. But Angel and Maria and their ever-expanding group of supporters, they're not going anywhere. For the Justice for Georgia Lee Moses movement, this is only the beginning. And in this case, sharing and using Angel's hashtags could have a measurable impact on the resolution of Georgia's sexual assault and murder. If you do one thing after listening to this episode, follow all of Angel's official accounts on social media. We've linked them. Share Georgia's story. If you're in the Petaluma area, attend the socially distanced events Angel continues to hold. Contribute art if you can. If you knew Georgia, get in touch. anything you know could be helpful. Follow all of their accounts to keep up with the projects Angel and Maria and their supporters are producing. They are working on several big pushes to get focus on Georgia's case. And most of all, if you have any information regarding the death of Georgia Leah Moses, you can contact the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office at 707-565-2185. If you'd prefer to contact Angel and Maria directly with any information or tips, you can reach them at their Gmail address. It's whathappenedtogeorgialee@gmail.com. That's whathappenedtogeorgialee, Lee, @gmail.com. Thank you for listening to The Fall Line. As of 2021, The Fall Line is a fully independent show, and we appreciate listener support. It allows us to do research, obtain FOIAs, pay our content advisors, and support and donate to the causes that we care about. If you try the products that we advertise, please use our sponsor codes. It really helps. And if you'd like to support the show and the stories we cover, join us on Patreon. We're raising Patreon funds to pay the rent on the Milberg Twins billboard, begin a therapy fund for families who've been on the show, and many other projects. You can read a public post about those goals on our Patreon page. On Patreon, you get early release ad-free versions of our episodes, plus blog posts and videos for only $5 a month. The Fall Line is written, hosted, and researched by Laura Norton, with additional research by Brian Waters, Kim Fritz, and Jessica Ann. Family and law enforcement interviews by Brooke Hargrove. Produced and engineered by Maura Curry. Content advisement by Brandy C. Williams, Liv Fallon, and Vic Kennedy. As always, our most special thanks to Angie Dodd. Currently, our monthly donation is going to the Black and Missing Foundation,